March 15, 1944. At the Oda Communications Unit of the Japanese Naval Intelligence Headquarters in Japan, Commander Itsuzo Kurihara studied an intercepted message while his third cup of tea grew cold on his desk. For the past 18 hours, he and his team of elite cryptanalysts had been working tirelessly to decode what appeared to be tactical communications from American Marines involved in the Marshall Islands operation. The sounds emanating through their receivers defied every analytical approach they knew. Bassetti dad Descartes, these were not random noises. Instead, they indicated structured military communication that correlated with previous American attacks and fit within operational timing parameters, aligned with Marine Corps protocols. Kurihara led one of the world's most advanced signal intelligence operations. The ADA facility, situated about 20 miles from Tokyo, employed 500 personnel who managed 11 radio receivers and 20 direction finders. His team had previously cracked numerous Allied codes, including American diplomatic traffic, British naval communications, and several Army codes. They had even broken the State Department's Purple Code before Pearl Harbor, giving Japan significant intelligence throughout the early years of the war. However, these Marine transmissions represented a complete cryptographic failure for Japanese intelligence. 3 years into the conflict, despite breaking dozens of Allied codes, their best minds could not decipher even basic patterns within these enigmatic communications. What Kurihara was unaware of, and what no other Japanese officer would comprehend until after the war, was that he was intercepting the only unbroken code in modern military history. The story actually began not in the Pacific, but in the American Southwest, where for centuries the Navajo people had preserved a unique language. Dine Bizad, or the Navajo tongue, belongs to the Athabascan language family and had approximately 17,000 speakers by 1940-17, primarily within the 27,000 square mile reservation spanning Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. The linguistic complexities that would stump Japanese codebreakers had developed over thousands of years. Navajo is fundamentally verb-centric, with actions described through intricate combinations of prefixes that can number in the millions. The language utilizes 4 unique tones, high, low, rising, and falling, that can completely transform word meanings. A minor mispronunciation isn't just a simple error, it can render an entire sentence unintelligible. The phonology includes sounds that are not found in Japanese, English, or most other world languages, such as ejective stops where air is explosively released through the glottis, voiceless lateral fricatives reminiscent of wind passing through teeth, glottalized sonorants, and nasalized vowels. For Japanese speakers accustomed to a language with only 5 vowel sounds, discerning these distinct phonemes was nearly impossible. Philip Johnston recognized the military potential of this linguistic stronghold. Born in 1892 as the son of a Protestant missionary on the Navajo reservation, Johnston became fluent in Navajo, one of fewer than 30 non-Navajos worldwide who could claim such fluency. By age 9, he was translating his father's sermons. At 15, he traveled to Washington to interpret for Navajo leaders and met President Theodore Roosevelt. In December 1941, following the attack on Pearl Harbor, Johnston read about Army units using Comanche speakers in training exercises in Louisiana. The Choctaw had been used during World War I, but their efforts were improvised and limited. Johnston envisioned a revolutionary system, a formal military code based on Navajo that would be unbreakable and practical for modern warfare. On February 28, 1942, he presented his proposal to Major General Clayton Vogel at Camp Elliott near San Diego. The demonstration was impressive. 4 Navajos from Los Angeles transmitted messages, while Marine officers timed them against standard procedures. The Navajo speakers completed the transmission in just 20 seconds compared to the 30 minutes required by the M209 cipher machine. General Voge approved a pilot program. On May 4, 1942, 29 Navajo recruits were sworn in at Fort Wingate, New Mexico. Among these men were Chester Nez, Carl Gorman, Lloyd Oliver, and John Bennerly, who came from various parts of the reservation. Several individuals attended boarding schools where speaking Navajo was strictly prohibited and penalized. Others were traditional sheep herders who seldom ventured beyond their ancestral lands. At Camp Elliott, these individuals spent 8 weeks working in a secured, guarded facility to develop a military code using their native language. The task was immense, requiring them to create new terminology for concepts that did not exist in Navajo, devise an alphabet system, ensure the memorability and expandability of the code. They constructed this code based on cultural logic. For instance, a submarine was called Beshloom, meaning iron fish swimming beneath the water's surface. A battleship was referred to as Loto, the largest creature in the ocean. A conjured creature in the ocean, akin to hummingbirds darting through the air, while bombers were named Kakamilo, similar to buzzards circling before descending. The alphabet demanded innovative thinking. Each letter required multiple Navajo words to thwart frequency analysis. For example, the most frequent English letter E had 4 alternatives: elk, Anna, hare, and A. During transmission, making patterns undetectable. Speaking correctly is a sacred duty. The initial test of the code occurred during the Guadalcanal operation in August 1942. 15 code talkers landed with the 1st Marine Division. The Japanese had anticipated the invasion, having deciphered other Allied communications beforehand. However, they suddenly encountered a puzzle as Marine tactical messages became incomprehensible. At 8th Fleet headquarters in Rabaul, intelligence officers were baffled by these new transmissions. Lieutenant Kazuo Yamada, who studied at Stanford before the war, reported, "The sounds appear to be structured like language and have consistent patterns, yet none of them match anything we know. Neither English, French, Dutch, Spanish, nor any Philippine or Chinese dialects." In response, the Japanese launched a systematic effort. They assigned their top cryptanalysts, recorded hundreds of hours on wax cylinders, and employed every analytical technique available. They even consulted university linguists and Buddhist monks who specialized in ancient languages. Despite these efforts, they were unable to decipher the code. On November 8, 1942, Chester Nez, a Navajo code talker, transmitted artillery coordinates that led to the destruction of a Japanese machine gun nest. The 14-second transmission was intercepted but remained unintelligible noise to the Japanese operators. Within minutes, American shells struck their target with precision. Colonel Haro Kanuma, intelligence officer for the 17th Army, noted in frustration, "The Americans have deployed a code that defies every attempt at decryption. We can no longer anticipate attacks. We are fighting without visibility." A Navajo soldier captured at Bataan in April 1942 emerged as Japan's best hope for breaking the code. Although fluent in Navajo, he had no knowledge of the military code being developed. When Japanese cryptographers intercepted Navajo transmissions, they brought him to the Ana Interrogation Center and played recordings of the code talkers for him. Lumia heard Navajo phrases but in nonsensical arrangements. "The turtle is attacking the iron fish. A hummingbird is carrying eggs." When he couldn't interpret them, interrogators accused him of deceit. Torture intensified gradually over several months. It included water torture, beatings, and being suspended by his arms for hours. In winter 1943, they made him stand naked in the snow until his feet were frozen to the ground. They starved him to a weight of 90 pounds, offering food only if he translated messages. Despite everything, Kamiya could only tell the truth. He comprehended the words, but lacked understanding of their military context. A Japanese intelligence report from May 1943 described their frustration. The prisoner seemed native to an enigmatic language, yet couldn't comprehend communications. They assessed either extreme resistance or the enemy using a specialized code within the native language, requiring specific training. This second assessment was accurate. Even fluent Navajo speakers required special training to understand it. Kamiya endured nearly 3.5 years of captivity. His failure to assist convinced Japanese intelligence they were dealing with something unprecedented. By late 1943, attempts to decode Navajo transmissions had largely ceased. Success at Guadalcanal led to rapid expansion. Major General Alexander Vandergrift wrote, "Navajo communicators have proven invaluable. Their transmissions are faster than any encoding device and absolutely secure." A formal code talker training program was established at Camp Pendleton, with classes conducted every 8 weeks. By the war's conclusion, around 3,075 to 4,250 Navajo Marines had acted as code talkers across all 6 Marine divisions. The training regimen was unprecedented in Marine Corps history. Recruits practiced their skills in soundproof booths, while instructors simulated battlefield noises. They communicated wearing gas masks during strenuous runs until they reached the point of exhaustion. Thomas Bay, who enlisted at 15 years old, recalled, "They pushed us to our limits and beyond. Our accuracy was crucial for saving lives." The code evolved continuously as new technologies emerged, necessitating new vocabulary. For instance, the atomic bomb was called Ayashi, metal egg, while kamikaze pilots were referred to as Neti, death wind. All wind, each edition made perfect sense in Navajo but was utterly baffling to outsiders. By mid-1943, Japanese intelligence had devoted significant resources to cracking the code. The Imperial Navy's 4th Section assigned 30 cryptanalysts specifically to decipher these transmissions. Captain Yushiro Tanaka attempted various methods to break the code, such as musical analysis for tonal patterns and consultations with scholars who studied Native American. They developed specialized equipment to slow down transmissions without altering pitch and used oscilloscopes to create visual representations of sound waves. Statistical analysis was also applied to sound frequencies and message patterns. Lieutenant Commander Masao Yamada later disclosed that while some patterns were identified, such as probable call signs and correlations between message length and operational complexity, the lack of understanding of the actual words rendered these insights virtually useless. Japanese forces received orders to capture Marine communication personnel alive. A reward of 10,000 yen, equivalent to a decade's salary, was offered for any code talker equipment or materials. Despite several close encounters, no code talkers were ever apprehended with their gear intact. The critical role of the code talkers became evident during the Central Pacific Campaign. In November 1943 at Tarawa, Lloyd Oliver kept in constant contact for 48 hours, orchestrating naval gunfire despite heavy shelling. During the Battle of Saipan, 24 code talkers worked non-stop, ensuring continuous communication around the clock. To forecast the invasion became scarce. Colonel Takeshi Sato intelligence became scarce. At Palalu, Jimmy King transmitted for 6 hours during a counterattack after his partner was killed. He coordinated artillery from 3 battalions and sent 40 messages flawlessly under direct fire. The battle at Uwama marked the pinnacle of the code talkers' contribution. Major Howard Connor orchestrated the initial assault through Navajo codes. 6 code talkers worked in shifts to maintain uninterrupted communication during the critical first 2 days of the invasion. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi had prepared for 2 years, constructing an underground fortress with over 11 miles of tunnels and relying on intercepting American communications to trigger counterattacks. This plan was completely foiled by the code talkers' efforts. Over a period of 48 hours, the 6 code talkers sent and received more than 800 messages without error. They coordinated the landing of 30,000 Marines, naval gunfire from 100 ships, close air support, enemy positions, medical evacuations, supplies, and tactical orders while enduring constant fire. Major Connor later testified that without the Navajos, it would have been impossible for the Marines to capture Uwama. During the first 2 days of the battle, 6 Navajo radio networks operated continuously around the clock. Over 800 messages were exchanged without any errors. The operation relied entirely on Navajo code. Colonel Shigo Hayashi informed General Kuribayashi that the Americans' codes remained impenetrable. Artillery requests completed in just 20 seconds via Navajo would have taken a conventional method 30 minutes to complete. This efficiency could mean the difference between capturing and losing positions. During the Okinawa campaign, 35 Code Talkers coordinated an assault involving 3,000 troops over 82 days. Japanese forces attempted to jam communications and mimic Navajo voices, but they couldn't replicate the tonal qualities of the language. One mined the tonal. Lieutenant Hiroshi Miyamoto's attempts at imitation sounded to Code Talker Alfred Newman like someone choking while speaking. On August 14, 1945, Code Talker Teddy Draper sent the war's most crucial message, Nahema Edigene Adenal, signifying Japan's surrender via Navajo before conventional channels. This marked a fitting conclusion to the Code Talkers' contributions. Post-war interrogations revealed the extent of Japanese efforts and their ultimate failure. Lieutenant General Seizo Arisu, Chief of Intelligence for Japan, admitted, "We were unable to decipher the Marine Corps code. We managed to break codes from other branches like the Army and Air Force, as well as diplomatic communications, but the tactical code remained invulnerable." Captain Yasuji Kawamoto added that they recorded thousands of transmissions and their best linguists studied them for 3 years without success. It was Japan's most significant cryptographic failure. In 1944, analysts had noticed tonal patterns indicative of Native American languages. After 1942, every Marine operation remained shrouded in secrecy until it unfolded. Major Hiroshi Tanaka, a survivor of Iwo Jima, recalled the profound psychological effects. "We were unable to comprehend their messages, which left us feeling primitive and defeated even before combat commenced." The war's conclusion did not alleviate the Code Talkers' burden. The program stayed classified for possible future use during the Cold War. Upon returning home, these individuals found themselves unable to discuss their service with anyone. They faced discrimination in states like New Mexico and Arizona, where they were denied voting rights until 1948, and Utah, which delayed suffrage until 1957. Many establishments refused them access. Despite being heroes, they could not speak of their heroic deeds openly. Chester, the last surviving member of the original 29 who passed away in 2014, wrote, "We were warriors who contributed to victory, but had no one to share our experiences with." The weight of this secrecy was immense. Many found solace through traditional ceremonies that purified them from the spiritual contamination of warfare. Dan Orkey added, "Our language served as a conduit for directing death, yet it also became essential for healing. These ceremonies reinforced the sacred nature of our language." In 1968, the program was finally declassified, and the first official recognition came in 1969 at a 4th Marine Division reunion. On August 14, 1982, President Reagan designated the day as National Navajo Code Talkers Day. The most significant acknowledgement occurred on July 26, 2001, when President Bush awarded congressional gold medals to the original 29 Code Talkers in the Capitol Rotunda. Only 5 of these initial members were present at the ceremony. Bush remarked, "We honor today 29 Native Americans who provided a unique service to our nation." Chester responded by saying, "We were simple men given an extraordinary mission. We used our sacred language to help secure victory. While the Navajos are most recognized for their contributions, 14 other tribes also supplied Code Talkers during World War II. The concept was first introduced by Cho in World War I. During the conflict in Europe, with 17 Comanche Code Talkers participated in operations including D-Day. Other tribes such as Hopi, Cherokee, Lakota, and others contributed their linguistic skills. The Code Talkers Recognition Act of 2008 honored all Native American tribes involved. John Brown Jr. observed, "They told us our languages were worthless, then they needed them to win the war." The complexity of these indigenous languages demonstrated their sophistication. During wartime, Navajo Code Talkers adapted their language on the fly, developing new grammatical structures and military terminology. Due to the agglutinative nature of some Native American tongues, intricate concepts could be conveyed in single words rather than lengthy English sentences. William Morgan noted that this proved indigenous languages were far from primitive. They demonstrated that the Navajo language could convey everything from religious rituals to military strategies. The creation of a Navajo code provided cultural encryption security by leveraging linguistic barriers that mathematics alone couldn't breach. This approach influenced intelligence operations after World War II and remains pertinent today in light of quantum computing's threat to mathematical encryption systems. Colonel David Hatch evaluated this accomplishment, noting its uniqueness. They managed to develop an unbreakable and uncompromised code. It proved that human linguistic ability could surpass mechanical encryption methods. In the 1980s, Japanese scholars delved into their failure. Professor Teo Yoshikawa disclosed that 30 cryptanalysts dedicated 2 years of research to these transmissions, consulting multiple universities along the way. Captain Minoru Yamada revealed, "By late 1943, we recognized it was a Native American language, but couldn't pinpoint which one." Lieutenant Commander Shigeru Fukumoto admitted, "The idea of using a native tongue was so straightforward and elegant that it never occurred to us." During the 1990s, photographer Kenji Kawano documented surviving Navajo Code Talkers. His exhibitions in Tokyo and Hiroshima introduced Japanese audiences to their story. Albert Smith, one of these Code Talkers, told his audience, "We were both warriors. My language helped defeat you, but now helps us understand each other." In 2010, the Japanese Association for Intelligence Studies held a symposium featuring Admiral Hiroki Arby. The Navajo Code is considered to represent perfect encryption. Despite having Asia's best cryptographers, we couldn't decipher it. Chester Nez, the last of the original 29 Code Talkers, passed away on June 4, 2014. Today, only 2 Code Talkers remain out of the roughly 400 who served. These individuals are Thomas H. Bay and Peter MacDonald, both essential to the operational success of the code despite not being part of the original group of 29. The Navajo language, which was once suppressed, has now been acknowledged for its strategic importance through federal funding tied to the Code Talker story. Young Native Americans are rediscovering their ancestral tongues with renewed pride. Dr. Jennifer Denadale noted that the contributions of the Code Talkers have redefined how Native Americans view themselves and how America perceives them. They showed that our languages are not relics but vital resources. The Navajo Code Talkers accomplished an unparalleled military feat by developing a code that Japanese intelligence could never decipher during World War II. Between 375 and 421, 2 Navajo Marines participated, transmitting countless messages flawlessly under combat conditions. Beyond their tactical achievements, the deeper significance of their actions lies in how they used languages and cultures that were once deliberately suppressed to defend their country against a nation unprepared for such diversity. These young men from marginalized communities provided capabilities that even sophisticated allies could not match. The Japanese were defeated both tactically and fundamentally. Their blindness to American cultural diversity contributed significantly to their failure. The empire's claim of racial superiority was undermined in part by its diversity. Lieutenant General Arasui acknowledged that Japan failed to decipher the codes used by the Marines, illustrating the challenge posed by an adversary whose power originated from sources beyond understanding. The Code Talkers represented a form of American pluralism that contradicted Japan's ideological framework. They demonstrated that America's true strength did not lie in its industrial might, but rather in its cultural diversity. Linguistic richness became a strategic asset. The Navajo language, which had been suppressed by boarding schools, played a crucial role in securing victories in the Pacific Theater. As the final Code Talkers fade from the scene, their legacy endures. Today, the once outlawed language is taught with pride, and Native American veterans are celebrated for their high rates of service. The principle that diversity enhances security is widely accepted. The Navajo-speaking voices across Pacific battlefields carried a profound message. America's resilience stems from its multitude of perspectives. Different peoples and languages united in purpose yet strengthened by their unique qualities. The uncrackable codes proved that differences are not liabilities but assets to cherish, protect, and utilize for the sake of freedom. Japanese intelligence officials who struggled with these codes best understood this profound truth. Their failure acknowledged a reality beyond the scope of warfare. Some codes remain invincible not because of mathematical intricacies, but due to the inherent complexity of human cultures themselves. The Code Talkers transmitted messages that Japan could never decipher. Yet their most significant message was universal. Diversity fosters strength, culture holds power, and indigenous knowledge continues to serve contemporary needs. A prime example is the use by young Navajo men of their sacred language as both a tool for defense and a means of peace, demonstrating that America's most robust encryption lies in its diversity. This diversity remains unbreakable because it springs from an inexhaustible well of human experience and wisdom. The enduring code continues to be preserved in every native child who proudly speaks the ancestral tongue, in each acknowledgement of how minority contributions enrich identity, and in everyone's understanding that our differences strengthen us when we come together. The Navajo Code Talkers showed us that our varied backgrounds are assets worth celebrating. They provide irrefutable evidence that a multitude of voices, cultures, and languages, united yet distinct, form the unbreakable code of freedom.